Ford is killing it at the moment, and it continues with their brand new compact truck, the Ford Maverick, but so is Hyundai with the all-new Santa Cruz. In fact, the Santa Cruz is currently the fastest selling new car in the entire country. So which one would I buy? That's what we're going to figure out today. Well, in this video, I'm going to compare some of the spec and tech of both the 2022 Ford Maverick and the 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz. But more importantly, we're going to analyze the design of the trucks in front, side, and rear view. Last but not least, I'm going to let you know which one I would buy based on their very different approaches to styling. Both of these trucks are for you who need something smaller, more fuel efficient, and something that won't break the bank but can still get the job done. These are compact unibody pickup trucks designed for people with an active lifestyle, whatever that means. So can they still do truck things even though they are unibody and not body on frame trucks? Well, the Maverick has a 1,500 pound payload, 4,000 pound max towing capacity with the optional tow package, which of course costs extra, and an estimated 40 miles per gallon with the standard hybrid powertrain. And here's the most impressive number with the Ford Maverick. The base model of the Ford Maverick starts at just $21,490, which means Ford really wants to get this out to the masses. So what about the powertrains here for the Maverick? Well, the base model comes with a 2.5 liter inline 4 combined with an electric motor that is front wheel drive only. It puts out 191 horsepower and can go 500 miles on a single tank. Range is good, power not so much, which is why the other option for the Maverick comes with 4-wheel drive, and it's a turbocharged 2-liter engine inline 4 producing 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. This is the version that I personally would go with, since I don't think front-wheel drive trucks make sense, and on top of that 191 horsepower seems a little weak by today's standards. Now, prices for the Santa Cruz here starts a little higher than the Maverick at $23,990 for the front-wheel drive only model with 191 horsepower 2.5 liter engine and of course front-wheel drive. An 8-speed automatic transmission is standard on all Santa Cruz models, but thankfully there is an all-wheel drive Santa Cruz with the same engine, and that starts at $25,490. The front-wheel drive Santa Cruz can tow 3,500 pounds, while the towing capacity for the all-wheel drive models raises that to 5,000 pounds with a max payload of 1,906 pounds. So only comparing truck features, these are pretty similar trucks. It all depends on how you spec them, how much you want to pay, how much you want to tow, how little you care about 4-wheel drive or front-wheel drive and stuff like that. If you have the same kind of versions of these two trucks, they're going to end up in the same very similar price range. But to me, the price and the towing capacity and all these features are not really the most important thing that I look at when I'm attracted to a car, and that is of course the design. And more on that in just a second when we jump into Photoshop, analyze them both side by side. So why are these so cheap? Well, they're built on crossover SUVs, and you can definitely tell that they're unibody trucks. They're not body on frames. So the Maverick here is based on the Bronco Sport, and the Hyundai Santa Cruz is based on the Tucson. These are not heavy-duty trucks, and I think that's what's going to make both of these massive hits. They will bring in new buyers that never really considered buying a truck before. So now let's jump into Photoshop here and let's have a look at these two trucks. Let's see what's going on. We have the front view of the Maverick up top, and we have the front view of the Santa Cruz down there at the bottom. So what I like about both these trucks is their approach to design. We have a very traditional approach right here, and we have a very futuristic approach on the Santa Cruz. They're two very different design philosophies here. This looks like it could be built 5 years ago. It's a very traditional, safe kind of design, very Ford-like. But I also like this because it looks like this could be built in 5 years from now instead of 5 years ago. It's a very Hyundai South Korean approach to styling, where they do a lot of styling for the sake of just having some cool lines on the car, completely opposite from what we have up here on the Ford, which you can see in the front view. We have a very geometrical features in the front view right here. Horizontal and vertical lines is the name of the game when it comes to the Maverick right here, which I like. It looks structured, it looks clean, it doesn't look like it's shouting too much, and what I really like about the face of the Maverick is the headlights here. I really like this design and how they wrap around this bar that sticks in to the headlight right here. I think this is a cool approach. Daytime running lights here, they look like this. So this top part here is an LED. Of course, that's an option, so you need to upgrade to the LED lights, which in any car these days, it's something that I would definitely pay $300-400 extra, even if I got the base model. For example, the Bronco, you can get the base with these light bulb lights in the front, but that just totally ruins the identity of the car and the brand. So I would pay, I think it's $400 to get the LED upgrade for the base Bronco, just to have the LED lights there and have an identity in the front face of the car. Same thing goes here with the Maverick. I would definitely love to have this part be LED, even though it is an extra option. 100% I'm gonna go for that. And I also like that the Maverick has a unique face. This face doesn't look like any other Ford, and that's cool that they decided to not cut costs and basically copy paste the Ford Bronco face, for example, onto the Maverick. They could have done that. It would have cost a lot less, but they went with a unique styling approach for the Maverick here. So let's have a look at the Santa Cruz down here, and this is a very aggressive looking front end. You can see it's frowning right here. We have these angles right here capsulating the grille here. These lights right here, these are just positioning lights or daytime running lights here. They have no function other than that. The big headlights sit down here in the bumper, and this seems to be a very right now trendy approach to design, specifically cars coming from Asia and South Korea. You have the Mitsubishi Outlander and all those. You have the Kias, and now you have the Hyundais as well, doing a lot of this styling right here, where you have the headlights down there. What that does to the design, though, it's a very smart approach to the design to create an identity for the face, because that means if you have just a square, boring, traditional looking LED projectors down there in the bumper, what you can do up here is you can definitely sculpt and create a strong identity for whatever brand you're working with the help of LED lighting, because they don't have any function, so they can be in any shape or form that you want. And you can see that when these are turned off, the whole entire front end is going to be black, and you can't even tell that there are lights here. It's going to look like these pieces right here when these lights are turned off. A very cool approach to design. What I think is a little bit confusing here are the line flow in the front end. So what I mean by that is, if you have a look at where the headlights sit here in the lower part of the bumper, it looks a lot more static than the top half of the front face. So this part down here, if we have a look at this part, we have very traditional looking lines here, vertical and horizontal lines cutting into each other. But above that, we have this crazy styling going on up here, where we have the positioning lights right here. So they kind of clash a little bit. I think I would like to have some sort of softness in the lower part as well. Maybe have some more radiuses right here, or maybe have a chamfer going here to connect with the top part a little better. But other than that, it's a cool looking truck. I think Hyundai is definitely on the way to creating a very strong brand identity for their brand. So I want to have a look at the side view here, and this is where things really sets the two styles apart. You can tell by just looking at the side profile and the silhouette of the cars. So with the Hyundai, we have a lot more a sportier approach to design, and of course I'm going to use the word traditional up here again for the Ford. Very traditional, with a vertical ending that cuts between the cab itself right here and the bed. This is very traditional on pretty much every single pickup truck you've seen. And then you have the Santa Cruz here with a lot more dynamic and sporty forward-leaning approach, where you have the cab having this angle right here, which looks pretty cool. Stylized, it looks Korean for sure. And on top of that, on top of this strong identity that you have in the front face of new Hyundais, you also have another strong brand identity going on in Hyundais. That is this part right here, the shoulder line stretching here, and then kind of hits something here, and then it crashes and goes into two different trajectories like this. And this is typical for Hyundais right now. What I like about the Santa Cruz and this little feature here is that it's pushed forward. So if you put a middle point in the car, you can see that this point is pushed further forward than it is on, for example, the Elantra. And what it does on the Elantra is that it splits somewhere here, and that creates a very static looking design, because you have the main thing that happens to the shoulder line happening in the center of the car, and that doesn't give it a forward or a rear movement. It gives it a very static movement. The moving this crash point, I'm gonna call it right here, moving that forward from the center point, it gives it a forward leaning, and it looks like it's tilted forward, and that's a good thing because we create dynamic feeling even when the car is sitting still. Other than that, very cool styling here in the bottom as well. We have the black graphic doing some crazy things down here, and of course tilting up back here, which we have similar to the Ford Maverick right here as well. Looking at the Ford Maverick, I mean, it is a typical truck silhouette here. Now, last but not least, let's quickly have a look at the rear view here of these two cars. So we have the Maverick up there at the top and the Santa Cruz at the bottom. One thing that is really cool here with the Santa Cruz is if you look at trucks and you look at the tailgate, you rarely see the light here continuing into the tailgate and be an active light be part of the tailgate itself, because when you open this up here, when this folds down, that means that all the electronics here is going to have to work in connection with the outer part of the taillight there. I would think from an engineering standpoint that this would be a lot more expensive than having it like we normally see on trucks, where you have nothing of the light being a part of the tailgate. This is a traditional way, again, tradition when it comes to the Maverick, to design trucks is to have the tailgate be a separate part from everything else. You don't want to have any electronics except for of course a rear view mounted camera there. The lights usually stick out from the tailgate and doesn't have a function like this. I'm not sure how the engineers solved that and kept the price so low, but it's a very cool approach and something I can't remember seeing in a long time from trucks. Other than that, we have of course the Santa Cruz name stamped into the tailgate as well. This is a very typical thing that you do on trucks. Same thing with the Maverick right here, and both of them have kind of a nice framing of the name. You have the framing right here with this line right here going on top there, and then you have a little chamfer down here as well. I think it's cleaner down here on the Maverick, where you have a dedicated almost panel for where you have the Maverick name. I think it looks better and a little cleaner than you have down here on the Santa Cruz, but that's obviously a matter of taste. One thing I really like about the Maverick here is, I've said it before, I'm a huge fan of chamfers on cars, specifically chamfers that go as a bevel around the lights, and you have that here as well. So if you look at this little chamfer here, this is something that I've noticed on Ram trucks as well. It's just tiny details like this. I think it's details that I appreciate that the designers actually took the time to add those small details to the trucks and to the cars, such as this little chamfer that goes around the taillight right there. What that does to me, it makes it look like a more premium truck than it would have been if they removed that chamfer altogether and just have this part sit inside of the body of the car and follow flush with the inserts of the body. It looks like it's more intentional to be that, if that makes sense. It just looks better overall. You kind of have that here as well, but this is almost not a dedicated chamfer to the taillights, more of a dedicated chamfer to the overall styling of the rear end on the Santa Cruz. So overall, looking at these two, which one would I prefer to buy? Well, looking at it from a design standpoint, I'm gonna have to say that I would buy the Ford Maverick here, not just for the design, but also for the engine. You get a lot more power in this. I think, what was it, 191 horsepower compared to 250 in the Maverick, which is a huge step up. And of course, four-wheel drive, and you have the more traditional styling. If we look into the future, which one do you think is going to survive the best styling-wise? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Ford Maverick with its more traditional styling. This looks cool now, but I think it's not going to age very well. It's very common with South Korean and Asian styling. It doesn't really age well. They have a lot of trends, and the trend right now, for example, is to have the headlights and the bumpers right here, huge trend, and create a strong brand identity up here, up top here. But that's not to say that it's not a cool looking truck. I do like them both, but if I were to buy one, it's gonna have to be the Ford Maverick with the larger engine.